She cheated on me for 4 years, so I destroyed her new lover's life. Throw away to protect identity, all the names are made up and blah blah blah. Let me start with a little background. Me 28 male and my wife 26 female married 3 years ago and had been together for 6 years. When we met I was already in my 3rd year of college for a special branch of a very productive industry, something like the US Army. You go in a different country for a few months, do some really dangerous jobs, get paid a lot, come back a few months, and so on. In the beginning I was going away for 6, 8, or even 10 months in order to promote as fast as possible. Now I went around 4 years of medium salary in my country in just 3 months. It is a hard job, but I love it. My wife was very supportive and I always knew that it is very hard for her to have this kind of lifestyle. I always tried to spoil her and compensate for my time spent away from her with tons of gifts and trips to exotic places. 2 years ago when I came home after an extended contract, I had to stay almost 2 more months because all flights and borders got shut down during COVID, but got 20% extra salary during this time. She told me she can't take it anymore. She goes crazy alone at home and she has nothing to do. She lost her job during COVID and did not want to work again after that, which I fully support her in because I wanted her to be happy and money was not a problem. I was petrified, and at first I believed she wanted to break up. Then she continued with, "I love you so much and I want you to give me a baby so I can take care of him and have a little bit of you when you are gone on contracts." After 5 months of hard work with no women in a 100 kilometers range, making a baby was done very fast. And multiple times just to be sure, if you know what I am talking about. I was nervous for the first month because we always feared we may not be able to make a baby. For the first 4 years we did not use any kind of protection except pull out, and she never got pregnant. But after a few weeks she wakes me up with a long kiss and a smile on her face, then shows me the test result. I was the happiest man alive. Everything changed. I was a man now. I was a father. I was on top of the world. I was going with her to every doctor appointment, and during contract I was asking for ultrasound scans instead of nudes, smiley face. The birth had no complications, and everything went amazing. 1 month later I go on another contract to make some money that should cover all the needs of our little baby. Halfway during this contract I receive a text from my wife which shattered my life. The text was short and simple, and I would never forget the 4 words that sent me into deepest depression I had ever had. "I want a divorce." I did not understand. I tried to call her to find out what happened, and nothing. After a few days of talking back and forth she said, "I want a divorce so I can marry the love of my life." I was already preparing my suitcase because I made a request to my company to send me back as an emergency. When I got home she and the baby were gone. 2 weeks later I was in court to settle the divorce. During this I found out that she had a lover for well over 4 years and she plans to marry him as soon as the divorce is done. Now the laws in my country are different, and I knew that my first priority should be a really good lawyer. My wife had a really shitty one and she decided to speak by herself without the help of the lawyer most of the time. Her whole idea was I am a woman and he is never home. Well, even if the laws usually favor women in my country, cheating is considered to be a break of contract. And she wanted to take full custody of our children in order for me to pay child support. I was not letting this happen. I spoke with my lawyer and an accountant, and it seems that I only had to pay child support from my base salary. My danger bonus is not included in child support because it is for my life risk and mine alone, and because the company pays less taxes on the danger bonuses. I have a lot of them and my base salary is only around 10% of my income. When she found out that she would take almost nothing from child support, I gave her the option of me taking full custody of the child, with a no contact rule, and I will never ask her for child support. She agreed in a second. Basically, she agreed to get out of our lives. We even changed the birth certificate of the child to me as the father and a blank space for the mother. She gave up any kind of claim to the baby. During the trial her lover was asked to come as a witness. And the idiot agreed. He is an AliExpress version of Andrew Tate. An alpha man who treats women like shit, and this seems to turn her on, and has a pretty good income. He has a small company. Less than half my salary, but he is always home, and it still is a lot for our country. Now during the trial, he said they cheated behind my back for 3 years and that the baby is his and she tricked me to make her a baby in order not to find out about her cheating. He said all this just to make me feel horrible, I guess, because this is actually kinda illegal, something like alienating the love and other law terms my lawyer explained to me. He basically said I knew they are married, but I decided to ruin the marriage. Now at this point the child situation was already done and an agreement was signed. The judge asked my wife if it was true and she said yes and ordered a DNA test just to confirm. After the DNA test that confirmed what they said, the judge said she will let me cancel the agreement and settle the situation again with my wife now that the child is not biologically mine. I said, "No, Your Honor. This child is mine and I want to keep him." The judge was stunned for a minute, but then she said, "Well, if the agreement is a valid contract and since you don't want to void it, then Mr. L, you are a father and no one can take that child away from you. In my country it doesn't matter who the biological parent is. It matters who the parent is in the documents." And since he knew he is the father since the beginning and did not come to the hospital to declare it, he automatically cancelled all his paternal claims. Sounds stupid, but it makes sense. It is in order to protect the idea of a family, and if a man recognizes a fatherless child at the hospital, he should not fear that the biological father will come back. It is in order to protect the value of family and encourage people to do a good thing and start a family and things like that. Now the divorce was over, I got my baby, and my wife was out of my life. First thing I did was hire 3 babysitters to work 8 hours a day so my child has 24/7 someone to stay with him and I have time to prepare my revenge. I started 2 separate companies with the help of an online assistant from India. You can hire them kind of cheap and they do whatever you need in online. This guy made 2 super professional companies. One in industrial credits, give money to businesses for a lower rate than banks, and the second one was a copycat of my ex's lover's company, but this one was in the same city as his. Both were made just for one client, my ex-wife's lover. My assistant started sending tons of ads from my credit company to him. Emails, targeted Google/Facebook ads, etc. I was sure that he knows that if he needs money, this is the place he can take a lot with low rates. Next, I advertised the second company a lot. But the company had only the machines and the rented space and only one worker. Every time someone called for the company's services, they got immediately declined because we are overbooked. My ex's lover, let's call him D, was one of them. Multiple times actually, and he got mad every time he got rejected because he sees how big the competition is. Now it was the time to give him the bait. Because my company had some problems in the main country, I don't even know in which country this company was registered in. They changed the management and wanted to make some fast profit, so the regional manager wanted to sell some of the equipment. When he heard this, he started calling and sending emails to buy them out. The response was something like, "We are an international company, we can sell the brand, but we can sell some equipment." It was illegal to sell the company without showing him the accountant's data, which was empty, but equipment I could sell with just a simple contract. He wanted the competition out of his city, he did not need the equipment. So the manager gives him a deal. If you buy our equipment for, let's say, 3 times the price, we can say in the contract that we will not do business again in this city. In just 2 hours, I received calls and emails on my first company for a credit for that equipment and blah blah blah. I knew he was out of money because he spent a lot on his future wedding with my ex-wife. I sent him a contract. Based on our evaluation, the equipment is not worth that money, so he will need to give us a guarantee, his company, and he is not allowed to sell any equipment or parts of his company until he pays everything back. If he is behind in payment for 6 months straight, I get all of it. Also, in the contract, I stated that the credit company will buy that equipment directly. Basically, I just give myself my money. And I made sure every single word of the contract is legal and is a deal good enough for him to take it. Later that same day, he sent me the signed contract. Now normally, he should be able to pay for everything even if the clients he hoped he will get from this company leaving are not existent. He still should be able to pay if he gives me around 80% of his company income for the next 5 years. Fast forward a bit. On the day of the wedding, I go to give them an envelope. In my country you give money in envelopes as a wedding gift. He start to laugh at me and tell me to get out cause I am not invited and he doesn't need my money. I smiled and I told him to open it. He looks inside and he was expecting to come to court next week. He laughed and asked what this is and I told him, see you in court, enjoy your wedding night. Next week he came, I was suing him for child support. As I said in my country, if you are aware that you have a child and refuse to go to the hospital to recognize him, you are no longer the father, but you are still forced to pay child support and is actually an increased rate because you tried to dodge responsibility like running from a car accident. He did not want to pay, so he tried to say that he wants the child or co-custody, that he is the biological and blood and blah blah. This made me happy because I wanted to drag the trial as much as possible to drain him of all his money. But I couldn't. After the judge saw all his declarations during the divorce trial, she ended the trial really fast and forced him to pay me 40% of his and his company income, since the child was born, until he finishes college or I get married. And guess who did not manage to pay? And guess who the new owner of his company is? Now I don't work anymore. I just run his company and spend almost all my time with my child.